All right, so I'm back. I know, I was just already here, but I'm back again. Let's continue on defining the individual. Move my tools around again. Hopefully that won't pop back to the top for me. All right, so in defining the individual, and you'll see this labeled a lot of different ways. Lots of companies and organizations use this. We're really talking about this graph here. We're really talking about breaking that down into what are people. So if we took us just society, so we took the whole United States, this is basically how it's going to block out. This is the way it's going to break down. So let's take a look at what these things are. The first category is the innovator. The innovator, they take chances. They often have financial resources that allow them to take those chances, right? So you may see yourself as an innovator, but you may not be because you don't have the money to buy the technology, right? So you've kind of done a preliminary acceptance. You're like, man, that new game system's awesome. Yeah, but you don't have the $600 to actually do it. You're like, man, I want an iPad, and I want a MacBook, and I want a Windows Surface tablet, and I want, and you don't have the money to do it. So mentally, you're an innovator. You see all those things as awesome, but you lack the financial resources to actually see how it's going to work for you. They're usually only about 2.5% of the populace, and they're the ones that buy the stuff first. Brand new thing comes out, it's usually expensive, right? So if we go to smartphones, I was an innovator in smartphones, but I did not have to buy the thing. My work bought it for me, right? So I could spend their money and get a smartphone, and that was way before, basically Windows had smartphones and Blackberries, which I always thought Blackberries were stupid. But there was no iPhone or anything like that. They understand complex knowledge, and they accept the elevated degree of uncertainty regarding the technology adoption. They understand, I'm going to go ahead and do this and use it and see how it fits into my life, but I know that maybe society won't go that way, and I'll have bought something that was expensive that I don't need 3 years later. All right, so because of these attributes, they promote new ideas and technologies and social systems. They say, man, we really ought to get on board with, so if you go back to the internet, there was lots of people that didn't understand what the internet was going to do. Most of us didn't know fully what it was going to do. We just knew some of it. And an innovator would have been somebody that was like, well, we got to connect our business to the internet. We need to have a website. We got to do these things. And other people are like, oh, I don't know. Right? They're pushing for it. They are usually change agents. Then you have early adopters. They make up about 14% of the populace and are respected for their social systems. So they don't necessarily have as much money, but they accept technology early, and they try to find, and this is usually where most of us fit in. So again, lots of times we're kept out of the innovator portion just because we don't have the financial resources to do it. But we're definitely early adopters. We'll see that and go, I'm going to do that. I'm always surprised that I don't have a lot of students with iPads or with any tablet, right? They're not there. I'm always surprised at that. It's like most of my students are not early adopters because financially there's no reason, right? Because tablets are usually cheaper, but they don't do it. I have seen students that have a Chromebook, right? But that's not a new innovation. That's a limited notebook that only does web stuff and a few apps, right? Those are usually the biggest ripoffs I've ever seen. Those will not, right? That's currently a fad. It's not going to be a trend until the internet is so pervasive that you can take that anywhere and do anything with it and never be limited by what it is. And right now, it is limited. Chromebooks are a perfect example of a technology that just stalled. And of course, Google's pushing them like crap, right? They're pushing them like crazy. So the one ad is like, oh, you tired of this? And there's all these virus pop-ups that happen. Oh, this has got virus protection built in. It's like, so does Windows. Windows has virus protection built in. But most people don't know it, right? So they can play on the stupidity of others. They know it. They know that that's built into Windows. But they're making a comparison that's not even valid, right? And most students I get that have Chromebooks are very dissatisfied. They can't run what they need to run. They can't get done what they need to get done. And it's really not a leap forward. A tablet is a leap forward. You're changing how the functionality of it. You can just use it on the screen. You can use it with a keyboard. You can talk to it. You can do all those different things, and that's like an evolutionary step in our technology, where a Chromebook is doing the same thing that you've only always done, except you paid just as much for a more limited system. Like some people, I don't know how many students I'll get in 103 where their uncle, the tech guy, bought them a Chromebook because that was going to be perfect for them, and then they just leave it at home constantly because it's like, I could take notes. I can't use Word, can't use Excel. You have to have the internet. If I don't have the internet, I'm kind of screwed. That's something totally different. Anyway, I'm just surprised that I don't see more early adoption of newer technologies with my students. All right, so that's the early adopters, and they only make up about 14%. Then you have the early majority, and those are the people that think they're really on the cutting edge. And they deliver it. They're deliberate in evaluating their technology. And they're 35%, and they're after those early adopters. So you're going to often see that. Like once you finally get a tech job and they're giving you the technology, which happens a lot, so you don't even have to buy it, then you're going to be an early adopter or an innovator because you don't have to buy it. You can just get it. You get it, and it's fantastic. And then the early majority is watching you, and they're evaluating what you're doing and how you're getting it done, whether or not what you're doing is of any benefit to them at all. And then you finally deal with the late majority. They're the adopters. They're skeptical. They may not have the same resources, so they may not have money, and so that's why they're skeptical. And they evaluate innovation with caution. And so they basically make up the same kind of portion as we're going to see down here. And then there's finally the laggards, and they're 16% of the populace. And they just don't want to change. They just lag behind everybody. So that's a good name for them. They're just laggards. So if we take a look at this, we got early adopters, early majority, late majority, and then we got laggards. And because this 2.5% is innovators, I don't really have them on the chart because they're so tiny right in here. Most everybody fits within early adopters, early majority, late majority, and laggards. So late majority is let's put it this way, with cell phones and what they're doing in the US, so we're just going to use the US as an example, people that are adopting smartphones starting probably about 3 years ago through now, they're laggards. They just have to be pushed into doing it. They just don't want to have to change, but everybody has changed what they're doing and how they work, and so now they have to have one. I saw that with email. I knew people that were just laggards with email. I'm not on email, stay out of that. And then the company is only using emails to communicate. I'm like, where were you at the meeting? What meeting? Nobody called and told me about a meeting. We're not going to call you. We're going to send it in an email. Why would we call you? That was a laggard, right? So that is IDT, and it explains quite a bit. And I would read through this a couple of times. And you may want to watch this again. And then that way you'll be ready to start doing your study guide to prep for the actual test. So we're going to jump over there so you can see. I'll pull up that test. Come on. See, that's one of the disadvantages to the internet. I gotta wait I have to wait, my goodness, for like 3 seconds before that pops up. How terrible. So anyway, this is the social theory study guide. There's gonna obviously be more questions on your study guide than actually on your test. And I do give you points for doing the study guide. There's no time limit. And the questions are shuffled. And there's no problem in me showing you this, what it is. There's all your questions. Whoops, 38 questions. Right, and this is what it looks like. IDT seeks to explain how technology is used through out of society, explain how technology is adopted and spreads through society, predicts a person's behavior in choosing a technology, determines why a person uses a technology. So you can see that in this question alone, I'm basically saying, man, you really need to know what IDT is, because all of these sound pretty dang good, right? Because I'm mixing the TAM and IDT stuff. So you got to really know what you're doing there. That's the study guide. Go through the study guide as much as you want to so that you're prepped for the actual test. It's really the only test that you're going to take in here. And so when, again, gosh, that was almost 10 seconds. No, that's 6 seconds. So those are due. October 17th is the social behavior reflection, which I'll look at now. And then the 24th is when both of these close. So we're looking at the time of creating this video about a month before those close. But don't wait till those close, right? All right, so social behavior reflection. What is your understanding of technology acceptance? How can understanding of technology acceptance help you? Pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but you can see where you can really go wrong with that if you don't understand what I've just talked about. All right, so that is it with all of that. Thanks for watching. If you got questions, please say, hey, I've got some questions. Talk to you later.